So what if pitching isn't exactly what you think it is? What is it then? I'll show you right now. So there's three reasons I want to pitch you my Superman pitch today, none of which have anything to do with trying to get it sold, and all of which have everything to do with showing you some things about pitching that you don't know. I don't know if you remember, but a few years back, Warner Brothers put it out there that they weren't sure at that time what to do with their Superman franchise. Like 1,000 other writers, I thought, I got a Superman idea. And like those other 1,000 writers, nobody bothered to ask me for mine. So I want to present it to you today, mostly because I want you to have three takeaways from this thing. Three things that will surprise you about pitching. What are they? Number one, pitching is really the key to a lot of jobs. Whether you're working in TV or whether you're working in features, the ability to pitch is really the key to opening up a lot of doors for you, and a lot of people I've noticed aren't quite doing it right. Why? Because they're pitching their story and they're not pitching a take of the story that's been distilled down into a pitch. So what's the number one reason I want you to hear this today? I want to show you how to distill a story down into a pitch. Number two, pitching can actually make you a better storyteller. I had a take on this story, but when I turned it into a pitch, it became streamlined. It became much more condensed. It became much more focused in the action and the characters and what needed to happen. And I realized, were I to write this, I would be writing this off the pitch and not off of the story that I had. Pitching, the act of it, can make you a better storyteller. Number three reason I want to show this to you today, I really, really like it. And it's different when you like what you're doing, and it's different when you love the material. So if you'll bear with me now, imagine that we are walking through a low-slung building somewhere in Burbank, following an assistant past endless rows of cubicles towards a very small little office lining up against a wall with a window view outside toward the water tower, and you walk in sweaty and nervous. They shake your hand and they say, "So, what do you got for us today?" Let's find out. Hope you enjoy.
I want to do a story about Superman because Superman is really hard. He's too powerful. He's too good. He's too godlike. Everything about him is successful except for his silly alter ego disguise of Clark Kent, which was the original she's all that add glasses to make you a dork move in entertainment history. The problem I think Warner Brothers faces today is, what does Superman mean in the 2020s? I don't need to remind anybody. We have all been through a lot. And I guess what? There was no Superman there to save us. So how do you root it? How do you make him real? And most of all, how do you do it while avoiding another origin story? So we meet Superman, or at least we kind of meet him. Our opening scenes show us a Superman driven to be a super god. There are disasters, problems, death, incidents, torture, crimes everywhere, all over the globe, all the time. And Superman is pursuing them all, preventing them, hunting down the guilty for the few who slip through the cracks, heading off giant global disasters like a Russian submarine coming threateningly close to a UN ship secretly carrying exceedingly radioactive materials. We have a huge set piece of like Hunt for Red October style showdown going on. And just as we get into the characters, just as we're sucked into the drama, just as we aren't sure exactly who's going to die, no one dies. Superman diffuses the entire thing. Within seconds, the sailors are all on land, the nukes are launched off into outer space, the plastic debris around it, incidental, but hey, it's there, is also included and jettisoned off, and nobody has any time for any flyovers, nobody has any time for any heroic posturing. It's immediately off to the next disaster. This is a Superman with no time for Lois Lane, no time for the Daily Planet, no time for Clark Kent. He's playing God. He's taken it all on his shoulders because he was raised that way, to believe that that's what a hero did, what he needed to do as the only person on Earth capable of doing it. And that's our Superman in Act 1. At the end of Act 1, something massive happens that sends him off on a journey of self-discovery and an understanding of what it means to be a true hero. Struggling with a message that he's received from Lois. She needs to see him tomorrow, noon, top of the Empire State. She's not asking, she needs him. And in his withdrawn state, Superman finds himself enveloped in light that mimics the red sun of Krypton, renders him powerless, a prisoner, and in an effects scene, a lot like Jodie Foster going through the wormhole in Contact, we see Superman propelled into the future, the far-flung future of Earth. This future Earth at an undetermined, far-flung year is like If you've traveled to Greece in the last few years, it's like that. The crumbles of what was left have really begun to just fall apart. Earth is a series of just underground colonies now, with covered outposts above ground. All societies work together now just for pure survival. There's no intra Earth military aggressions. There's no military. What we used to do for military, we now do for science. We spend everything we have, every reserve of our planet, to try and scientifically turn back the clock and unwind the terrors that the world has become. But one person's dystopia is another person's utopia. This future Earth is inhabited by the best kind of people with interesting, open minds who only want to repair the planet and fix their lives. They have no enemies. Their only defenses are automated in case of a space based invasion. And now something terrible has happened. They are less than 24 hours away from penetration of their outer protections by a single ship cruiser from a pilot world, people who roam the galaxy sucking up tech and resources from other planets. Turns out we aren't alone. Most societies, given the chance to live, ultimately fuck it all up and bring about their own disastrous ending. So these aggressors, they come from a planet with a purple sun, like Krypton's red sun. Our scientists of the future anticipate that their exposure to our yellow sun, aligned precisely with the Earth's position, will give them extra powers, like Superman, capable of handling any mechanical threat that they're going to throw at it. So their solution is, let's plunder Earth's past for a Seven Samurai style collection of heroes to come forward and fight for the planet's future. And the action of the first half of the second act is coming to understand this, to plan for the enemy, and critically, to see our supporting cast in action. Heroes of history, drawn from real life, from continents all around the world and different time periods, given the tech to make their language mutual, they will head off for the outer reaches of our atmosphere and stop this proto-invasion before it can begin. Stop the release of a bunch of dangerous pirate supermen on our planet. And these heroes of history and characters that we'll get to know very, very well, along the lines of Queen Amina from what is now Nigeria, who led her people to independence as a fierce warrior, a cunning and dangerous general. Or Crazy Horse, the hero of the Lakota, a poet warrior who did more planning than fighting, more scheming than attacking. He used his inner consciousness to live out a battle, Sherlock style, before it happens, and then recreate it with his warriors like chess pawns. Or Kutulin, the Mongolian warrior princess, cousin of Kublai Khan, the feared emperor. Marco Polo famously described her as a superior warrior and wrestler to any man. She specialized in guerrilla missions to abduct her adversaries before the battles, thin out the numbers, and put fear in their hearts. There's also Shi Hao Dun, Han Dynasty, early China, better known as Blind Shi Hao after he was shot in the eye with an arrow, which he then pulled out and ate. Shi Hao backed a coup against the terrible emperor and helped install a more fair emperor to the throne, all for the benefit of his people. There's Jacques de Molay, 17th century leader of the Knights Templar, who attempted to use their European educations and fortunes to discover the true secrets of mankind's ancient past. And there are examples. The design would be to fuse Superman with great heroes of the past. And as they meet and greet, as they plan, as they train, all through the first half of the second act, as they bond and compare notes, they're competitive, they preen a little bit, but Superman also comes to learn some early pieces of history lessons. He's different from them. They don't feel his burden of responsibility. They're doing their duty, but they are doing it as part of a greater effort. They don't see themselves as alone in it. And Superman rationalizes, well, it's because of my powers, but that's not it. These people, each in their own time and even now, stuck together in the far-flung future, have the stuff of heroes. They are going to succeed and win for their cause, no matter what we think of their cause now. There are two modern humans added to the team. Zynga, the best pilot Earth has to offer, and Sam, a historian of note whose specialty is global heroes. It was Sam who picked this team. Sam is along to write the history, but we immediately know that he knows more than the heroes do about their own fates at this time. Sam knows how they are each going to die. A curiosity at first, but it's going to mean more soon. So we've trained, we've bonded, we've sparred. We've learned that maybe a hero isn't just a god. Maybe a hero is someone who inspires other people to rise up and be their better selves. and we're cruising toward midpoint. We're just about to go off and kick some major ass when there's a surprise ambush. One of the pirates from the Purple Sun planet has been sent ahead as a secret scout to surf the area and has discovered massive, nearly uncontrollable superpowers. This is Superman on steroids with a rage problem on a bad day with a caffeine headache. And he is on a absolute rager, and Superman and the others must immediately get into the action and stop it. And in the course of that raging battle, during which Superman displays his strength, but his strength is only equal to this new enemy. So it is going to take everyone's savvy and brains. And we see the nature of this team fall into place. We see them play their part using their particular mental and physical capabilities to set up a moment where Sam, the nerdy historian, the government dork, whips out a weapon and fires kryptonite into the heart of the new enemy. And it's not quite the same as it would be on Superman, but it hits him the way that a good punch might. It's not going to take this guy out, but it is going to slow him down. And seeing that, Superman is thrown. But the others spring into action, capture their new enemy inside one of the cages that Superman realized was used to bring him here, a red sun cage. They did not expect Purple Sun invaders, but they did have every means of destroying Superman at their disposal. It's a suspicious second half of the second act as we live out the epic battle that we've advertised. The incoming enemies, about a dozen of them, are all going to turn into the Purple Sun Uber Supermen at any moment, and our team is careening toward their fate against them. And along the way, Superman has discovered something about each of his new compatriots. Every one of these warriors was plucked from history just before the moment of their own death in either battle or being held by their enemies, all of them, which says he's no detective like Batman, but this says to Superman, I might be about to die when I return. So what we do is we have this battle of our heroes against these enemies. They're heading them off before they gain the powers that they know they will get thanks to their already captured member. And most of them are stopped before they pierce the barrier. And we begin to lose all these heroes from the past who we've gotten to know in their own heroic deaths during this battle. And from what we know of it is when they die here, they'll return back home to the instant that they were taken away, which Superman now knows is the moment that they're all going to die anyway. And Amina, the last of them, the one who understands what Superman is saying, she knows she will return home to her own famous last battle and her own death, but it was never about her life. It was always about inspiring your people. It is not the place of a leader to do everything, to be God, to answer every problem. It's their job to inspire their own people to do better. Amina falls. Superman is the only one who remains. There are 3 Purple Sun pirates who have penetrated this world, have gained immense powers, and Superman knows he doesn't need to be here to save these people and live on here. His death only returns him home. He can sacrifice himself. He can truly be the Lamb of God for once in what, in his own fucked up Martin Scorsese way, is what he always needed. He couldn't let himself love. He couldn't let himself be Clark Kent, let alone Kal-El, because he was the only Superman they could look to. And now he's going to go home and die. But first, he'll die here, which he does by rounding the 3 of them up in a kryptonite net, poisoning himself as he flies out, hurls them into the sun, which goes moderately supernova, flames up and out, and then cools ever so slightly. And we see that Superman hangs dead inside that inferno. The future Earthlings are preserved by his act of heroism. He has cooled the sun just enough with that flare to allow life to return to a more normal way as the years progress. And Superman now arrives back home in the 21st century for a truncated third act, where he knows he's off to see Lois Lane, a Fair to Remember style, Sleepless in Seattle style atop the Empire State Building, knowing now he's walking into a death trap, which he wouldn't have done before. This trap being bitter, twisted, industrialist, screw the rest of the world, I want it all for myself, Luthor. Lex Luthor, the same kind of asshole that we've all just had to live through as president for 4 years, and he set up a kryptonite trap for Superman, the tip of the Empire State Building completely replaced with the last of the world's supply of it, the last supply to make it. And we put it together. Superman helped know this from the piece that Sam in the future had, a tiny piece of this giant lance, which his scientific Sherlock, ever-working god of a mind, had noted and filed away for potential future need. And he saves himself from the ambush, and he lives, and he comes to realize at last that he's an inspiration, not a god. He can be a man. He can come to Lois, not as a phony Clark Kent, but as Kal-El, an alien who grew up in Smallville and got handed the burden of saving the world on his shoulders. And that's the Superman pitch.
Really appreciate you being here today. If you enjoyed any of this or if any of it was helpful for you, would really love it if you could like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out as we're trying to grow. We're trying to build a free, unlimited resource for screenwriters, tips, tricks, techniques, and actual live demos, all right here for free. We also have our Jeff Howard sessions, which are classes and programs and reads and consults, the information for which is available in the links down below. Hope to see you there sometime. Really enjoy being here. Thanks a lot and good luck to all of us.